Okay, good morning. Today is Wednesday. It is the second day of Sivan. And today we are concluding the second to the last, chapter 52, last part of this chapter. And we're getting closer to finishing the Tanya, the first part of the Tanya. And in this chapter, the Alter Rebbe explains the idea, what it means that God is in certain places more than in others. Like in the Holy Temple, Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, is revealed more than in others. And the Alter Rebbe explains this using the analogy of a human being, using the analogy just like the way it works in a human being. You have the soul itself is way beyond definition, and it is equally in every part of the body. Every organ is equally alive. And yet there is a greater energy that is in the brain, obviously, than in the other parts. And explain that there is the revelation of the soul begins in the brain. Now, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain now that this is the way also in all of the spiritual worlds and in each level, godliness to come down, all the way to come down to this world, it is first revealed in the brain of that world. The brain is the Holy of Holies. Just like in the Holy of Holies was the brain of Hashem, so to speak, the intellect, because the Torah was there. The Torah is the revelation and the wisdom of Hashem. And through this, through the Torah that contains within it, on the one hand, it contains the tremendous, unlimited level of godliness. The essence of Hashem is in the Torah. And yet from the Torah, it comes down into the lower creatures of each world. And how is it revealed in each world? So here it comes, Alter Rebbe explains that there is, just like by human beings, there is what reveals a person. How does a person come from himself to have influence on the outside of him? What does a person use to communicate, to have influence on the outside, to have an effect on something which is outside of him? Is obviously the speech. The speech in the Kabbalistic terms is connected with Malchus. As it says in Zohar, Malchus Peh. Malchus is the mouth. What is Malchus? Is the lowest level of the 10 attributes. Because what are the 10 attributes? We have the intellectual attributes, we have the emotional attributes, and we have the Malchus. Malchus is the kingdom, royalty. It is what uses to communicate to the next world, to the outside of you. So where does it come from, the speech? It must obviously originate first in the brain, in the intellect. From the intellect comes to emotions. From there comes to thoughts. And from there comes to speech. And obviously this is also connected with action. So the Alter Rebbe explains that in each world you have that same process. As you remember, we mentioned earlier in earlier lessons that generally speaking, that we have 4 worlds. The world of Atzilut, world of Beria, world of Yetzira, and world of Asiya. Atzilut is a world of emanation. The godliness is revealed there. It's one with Hashem. World of Berea is a world that is connected more with emotion, that the godly emotive attributes is dominant there. I'm sorry, again, mistake. Strike that. The world of Berea is the world of the intellect. Godly intellectual attributes is dominant in the world of Berea. And the world of Yetzirah, the third world, is the world that the godly emotions are dominant. And in the fourth world is the world of Asiyah. Is also the world of action. There's also what is called the spiritual action and physical action, Asiyah Ruchnis, Asiyah Gashmis. But in general, there are four worlds. Now, in each world, what is the process? The way the godliness is revealed in each world, it goes through the same process what we just said. First, it is revealed in the brain of that world, which is the Chachma Bin Das of that world. Then it has to go down all the way to the action, all the way to the Malchus, goes to the motive, goes from the Chachma Bin Das, goes into the Malchus, to the action, to the speech of that world. And through this way, in this way, when it goes into the brain, then into the Malchus, then it is revealed. Malchus, like we said, is the speech that has the ability of revealing, and thereby everything in this world is being revealed through this process. That first going into the brain of that world, the Chachma of that world, going through the Malchus, the bottom, which is the speech, the godly speech, and then it is being revealed. Everything, all the creatures, the angels, the souls, whatever has to do with that world is revealed through this process. And the same thing, the same process goes to the next world. So we have the world of Atzilus. The Malchus of Atzilus is the place where we call it the Shechina, God's dwelling, because this is the first step, the first place, the first station that godliness is being revealed is in the world of Malchus of Atzilus, in the level of Malchus of Atzilus. And then from there, it goes into the brain of the next world, the Chachma of the next world. And again, the same process happens in the next world, in the world of Berea, from the brain of Berea, from the Chachma, goes down all the way to Malchus of Berea, which is the speech, and then it goes back. It brings out all of it and is enabled to reveal and bring to being all of the creatures and the souls and the angels in the world of Berea. And the same thing with the next world. So basically what it says that in each world has its own brain. What is the brain called, we said, is the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies, which is what? It is God's wisdom revealed through the Torah. Based on this explanation, he will also explain that there are different parts of the Torah. There is the part of the Torah which is called the Talmud. The Talmud is more of an intellectual understanding of the Torah. It is analyzing, asking questions, coming up with answers, analyzing the Torah. This is connected with the world of Berea, because world of Berea is world of intellect. The godly intellect dominates in the world of Berea. Then you have the other part of the Torah, which is Mishnah. You have the three parts of the Torah. You have the Talmud, Mishnah, and Mikra. Talmud is the analytic ability of analyzing all the intellectual part of the Torah. Mishnah is stating the laws. This is kosher, this is not, this is forbidden, this is not. This is related to the emotive aspects of the worlds. Just like an emotion. You have an emotion. I like this. I don't like that. I love this. I hate that. So this is the world in the spiritual sense. The Mishnah is connected and is rooted into the emotive attributes of the godliness. This is why in the Mishnah sometimes you have this dispute between Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel. Shammai, the great sages, the Tanaic sages, Shammai and Hillel were always arguing to understand the law. Is it okay? Is it not? Hillel was always more lenient. Shammai was always more strict. And the Hasidus explains the reason why they were like that, because Hillel, his soul was connected with the emotive attributes of chesed, kindness. This is why he's more lenient. Shammai is more, his soul comes from the attributes of gevura, strictness, judgment. That is why he's more strict. So his emotive attributes affects his understanding. So that is the world of Mishnah. Then the parts of the Torah, the written law, this is related to the world of action. Because there the godliness has ability to go down all the way to the action. And when you study Torah, if you study Mishnah and you don't understand, it's not considered studying the Torah. But if you read the verse, the letters of the Mikra, the written law, Chumash, Tehillim, the verses of the written law, if you just read it, even if you don't understand, it is considered studying Torah. Even if you don't understand, because this is related with the world of action. That is why this is the Mikra, the written law, is related to that world of Asiya. So again, in each world you have the brain, which is the Torah, which through going down to the Malchus, to the bottom line, which is the speech, it enables to create the creatures of that world. And it's a little deep concept, but I know you will get something. The more we study it, the more we understand. So let's see it inside. First, the Alter Rebbe. Ubiridasa, Beishtalshelus, Me'olam le'olam, Gam hashchina yoda v'nislapsha ba b'chol olam ve'olam. It says, as this wisdom came down by progressive descent from world to world, as we explained, so the Shekhinah too came down and clothed itself in each world. And how? What is the process? Is what we just explained. This is the shrine of the Holy of Holies, which is contained in each world. What is the shrine? What is the Kodesh Kadoshim, the Holy of Holies? This is the wisdom, the intelligence. So also, as it has been stated in the Zohar and Etz Chaim, she'ashchina she'malchus de Atzilus, that the Shechina, which is Malchus of Atzilus, the lowest level of Atzilus, shehi bechinas gilui oire in Sof Baruch Hu, v'chayus shemeir le'olamais, and the Malchus of Atzilus being the manifestation of the light and vitality of the blessed Ein Sof, which illumine the worlds. Wherefore, meaning since it is a revelation, it is called God's speech. That's what we said. Just like speech reveals. So Malchus, that Atzilus, is called God's speech. And also, Ruach Piv, and the breath of his mouth. Kaviyachol, as it were. For the purpose of speech is to reveal that which was concealed in thoughts. As in the case of a person, By way of example, the speech reveals to other people what the person conceals in the hidden thoughts. So what happens then? From there, he mislabeshes beichal kodesh kadoshim debriya. So the malchus of Atzilus, the malchus of the higher world, clothes itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of Beria. What is the shrine of Beria? Like we said, Shi Chachma bin Adas the Beria. Namely, the Chachma bin Adas, the intellect of Beria. Ubeis lapshusa me malchus de Beria, nivru aneshama zeh malachim sheberia. And through the fact that the latter spheres, the Chachma bin Adas, they clothe themselves in the Malchus of Beria, the souls and angels which exist in the world of Beria have been created. That's what we explained earlier. That we have the process comes in the brain, all the way coming down through the system into the speech, and speech brings out what you know into revelation. And the same thing is the world of Beria. The Malchus of Atzilus, Malchus of the higher world, clothes itself into the shrine, the Holy of Holies, the intellect, the Torah of the world of Beria. And when it comes down into Malchus of Beria, the lowest level of Beria, thereby it enables to reveal and to create the souls and angels of the world of Beria. And this is why, what we said earlier, this is why the Talmud is connected to that world, because the Talmud is the part of Torah, which is more the intellectual way of understanding the Torah. And from there also, from Malchus of Beria, in which is enclosed the Shekhinah, meaning Malchus of Atzilus, which previously had clothed itself in the Chachma bin Adas of the world of Beria, after which the latter are clothed in Malchus of the world of Beria, is derived the Talmud that we possess. Talmud Shalofaneinu. He says the Talmud that we possess. Why the Talmud that we possess? Because the Torah itself, as we said earlier, is not limited to the intellect that we understand. The Torah itself is the essence of Hashem himself, God himself. But the Talmud that we possess, that we feel, that we understand, this is connected with the world of Beria. Umisham, Okemoshin is Ba'aleil B'Shem Tikunim, as previously has been explained in the name of Tikunim of the Zohar. Shebe'olam Abriya Me'iris Mashpiyas Sham says in the world of Beria, there shine and flow forth the Chachma Bin and Das of the Ein Sof in a powerfully contracted manner, in order that the souls and the angels, which are finite beings, shall be able to receive influence from these categories of Chabad. So it's there in a very contracted manner. The souls and the angels that are limited should be able to receive from this Chachma bin Adas. And this is why, therefore, the Talmud, not the Mishnah, but the Gemara, also originates from there. Why? Because it is also the category of intellect, Chabad, Chachma, Bina, and Das. As we just explained, so it says, because the Talmud is the clearly defined reasons of the halachas. When you study Gemara, you understand this. You take a Mishnah. What is the Gemara? It's a commentary of the Mishnah. And it takes all what it says in the Mishnah and analyzes it and explains it and gives it reason and argues and comes to conclusions and so on. And reason, halachas, and the reasons being rational are from the category of Chabad, intelligence. The halachas atzmon, but the laws themselves that are found in the Mishnah has just the laws. This is kosher, this is not. The laws themselves, they derive from the midos, from the motive attributes of the Ein Sof of Hashem, Baruch Hu, Shem Chesed, Din, Rachamim, namely kindness, severity, mercy, and so on. Shem Mishom Nimshach Ha'eta V'Yisur V'Akosha V'Aposel V'Chiv V'Aptur, from which originates, from the motive, godly motive attributes, originates the permissions, the prohibitions, permission deriving from kindness, prohibitions from severity, ritual validity and invalidity, liability and blamelessness. So ritual validity and blamelessness originate from the attributes of kindness. And ritual invalidity and liability originate from the attribute of severity. Tikkunim is explained in the Tikkunim, the Tikkun Zaya. And then he goes on to explain the further process. Again, will be that in slapshus malchus de atzilus be malchus lebriya, mislabeshes beichal koche kadoshim de yitzira, and by virtue of the clothing of malchus of atzilus in the malchus of beriya. And again, as we said before, it comes through first the chachma, the intellect of beriya, and goes down into the malchus of beriya. So Malchus of Atzilus goes down into Malchus of Beriah, of the next world. It then clothes itself in the shrine of Holy of Holies of Yetzirah, the next world, the world of the emotions, being the Chabad of Yetzirah. That's the shrine, that's the Kadoshim of Yetzirah, Shu Chachma Binadas, the Yetzirah. And then once it is in the Chabad of Yetzirah, the intellect of Yetzirah, again it goes down the same process all the way down to the speech, to Malchus of that world, Malchus of Yetzirah, and after goes down to Malchus of Yetzirah. Then it creates all of the being of that world. Just like the speech reveals and brings things to creation. Well, that's what he says. We slap shus on the malchus the Yetzirah noitzrua ruchos. And the latter, but later on, the latter, the malchus of Atzilus, together with the spheres in which it is enclosed, in malchus of Beriah and in Chabad with intellect of Yetzirah, they are clothed in malchus of Yetzirah, and the souls which are called ruchos are created. You notice here it calls it the souls that are created, it calls it ruchos. Before he said neshamas. When it came to the world of Beriah, he said sheyuchlu aneshamis. Aneshamis are malachim. And here it says the ruchos. The ruchos are created. What's the difference between ruchos and neshamis? You know, every soul has the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The nefesh is connected with the action of the soul. Ruach is connected with the emotions of the soul. And the neshama is connected with the intellect of the soul. So that's why in the world of Beriah, he says the neshama, and the world of Yetzirah, being the emotional world, he says the ruach is the motive part of the soul is created. And also, v'malachim shebe Yetzirah, and also the angels which are in the world of Yetzirah are created. And that is why, as we said before, what part of the Torah is connected with the world of Yetzirah? The Mishnah. The Mishnah is connected because it originates in the godly emotive attributes. And from there too, the Malchus of Yetzirah comes the Mishnah that we possess, which comprises the legal decisions שמלוכס פסוקס הנמשוכס גם כן מחוכמה בינה דעת של אין סוף ברוך הוא. They comprise the legal decisions that are likewise derived from Chabad, from the intellect, Chachma Bina Das, of the blessed Ein Sof. Only that the category of Chabad, that is the reasons and the interpretations of the halachas, of the laws, they are clothed and hidden within the laws themselves. And are not in a revealed form. Meaning, obviously the Mishnah, if you ask which level is higher, the Mishnah or the Talmud? The Mishnah is higher than the Talmud. Even the law says if you have a book of Mishnah, you don't put a book of a Talmud on top of a book of Mishnah, because Mishnah has higher holiness. You don't put a Mishnah on top of a Chumash of the written law, because the Chumash has a higher holiness. So how come the Mishnah is from a higher world, but yet it comes from a lower world? It originates in the lower world, which is the world of Yetzirah. And the Talmud, which has a lower holiness, originates in a higher world, which is the world of Beria. And the answer is that in the Mishnah itself, you have the intellect, except that it's hidden. It is the intellect of it is there, but it's hidden. And it has the ability to come down all the way to the world of Yetzirah. And the same thing is the Chumash has the ability to come down all the way to the world of Asiyah. So that's what it says here. It's hidden in there. Continues. V'gufei halochos שמבחינת גילוי, hein האורס מידויsav shel ein sof baruch hu מבחינת גילוי. And the elements of the halachas, the law, which are in a revealed form in the Mishnah, they are the very reflection of the midos of the blessed Ein Sof, the attribute, emotive attributes of Hashem in the revealed form. As explained earlier, above in the name of the Tikkunim, the Tikkun Zoya, the Shi Sfira Mekanenim Be'etzira, and says the 6 Sephiros nest in Yetzirah. Shein derech klal shnei kaven yamin u'smoil. The 6 spheres and the middle is comprised in general 2 extensions, right and left. Right represents kindness and left severity. Lahokel misitra de chesed, ainu lehatir sheyuchal ales el Hashem. The right side, acting with forbearance, deriving from the aspect of kindness, which results in adjudicating leniently. That is to say, to permit a thing to ascend to Hashem. What does that mean? We say everything in the world has godly sparks. Some sparks, our job is to elevate those sparks to Hashem. So when you're saying something is kosher, you're being lenient and you're allowing that spark to be used in a kosher way and being elevated to Hashem. If you're saying something is not kosher, you're being strict and you're not allowing it to elevate to Hashem. That's what he says. Or acting in a stringent manner and so on. Declaring the object to be forbidden for use and thereby precluding its elevation to holiness. That's an act of severity. And all this, both the Mishnah and the Talmud, is according to the supernal Chachma of Atzilus, the highest level. And Bina and Das are comprised in it, meaning in the Chachma. And they, the Mishnah and Talmud, and the illumination of Chabad, and the Midah is found in them, they all are united with the blessed Ein Sof. Because in all of them, they're close to Chabad, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge of the world of Atzilus, with which the light of the blessed Ein Sof is united in a perfect union. So that's, and the same thing, says the Alter Rebbe, goes in every single world. We mentioned Bria, we mentioned Yetzirah, and now he mentions the fourth world, which is the world of Asiya. In like manner, the Shechina then descends and clothes itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of Asiya. Now, says the Alter Rebbe, don't you think that there are only four worlds? Four worlds is only in general terms, but each world has endless worlds. That they all in each, and the same system works in the macro, in each particular world, in the same way that it reveals itself in the intellect of that particular world, and goes down to Malchus, to the action, and it's revealed in that world. And in each of these three worlds, Bri, Yetzir, and Asiya, is subdivided into myriads of gradations, which are also called particular worlds. Malchus, the Atzilus, Melobeshes, the Malchus shall call Oilam Prati, and Malchus of Atzilus, which is, as we said earlier, that is the level of Shechina, regional Shechina, Hashem's dwelling. And so the Malchus of Atzilus is clothed in the level of Malchus of each particular world. And then he says, Yoiredes, and moreover, through the above mentioned clothing, it descends. And number three, it encloses itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies, which is the world, which is namely the Chabad, the intellect, the brain, which in the world below it below it in rank. And Rabbi says, this will enable us to understand the wording of the verse, your kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds. That's a verse we say every day in Ashrei. The text seems to imply that there is one level of kingship called your kingdom, and another level of kingship known as the kingdom of all worlds. So Alter Rebbe says, therefore, the Alter Rebbe explains that the verse is telling us that your kingdom is the innermost aspect of the kingdom of all worlds. Within them, all is enclosed. Your kingdom, Malchus of Atzilus. So Malchuscha, Malchus Kalelon, your kingdom, meaning the kingdom of Atzilus, which is the first revelation in Shechina of Hashem, is in each and every world. והנה, says Alter Rebbe, השכינה המלובשת באיכל קודשי קדושים של כל עולם ועולם, כללי או פרטי, נמשך מספשת ממנו אור וחיוס לכל העולם והברואים שבו, נשומות מלאכים וכו'. It is from the Shechina which is clothed in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of each and every general or particular world that light and vitality are extended and diffused. So that whole world and the creatures contained therein, the souls, angels, and so forth. Because they are all created by the 10 divine utterances of the creation, these being God's speech, which is termed the Shechina. And this is the end of chapter 52, which tells us that basically you want to have connection with the roots, connect with the brain. What is the brain? It is the Torah. Perfect lesson, right? Before we come now to the holiday of Shavuos. The Torah is the root and source of everything in each and every world. Through the Torah, everything comes to being. That's why on Sunday, we will all come to shul, to synagogue near you, to hear the Ten Commandments, the Torah that is given again for the 3,334th time, which is this year. Sheepshead Bay, 5782. This is the end of today's shir. Thank you so much. Any questions we can take now?